The business community, like anywhere else, prefers always political certainty, stability. So contesting election results is not good news, especially for a city like Istanbul. It's almost 1/3 of the Turkish economy. It's the heart of the Turkish financial system, Turkish trading system, global positioning. Therefore, we are explicitly asking for a clarification as soon as possible.
But is there a danger that the government actually blocks the implementation of policies because they lost the races in Ankara and Istanbul?
I don't think so, but we are losing time. We should focus on the reform agenda that Turkey desperately needs to be implemented as soon as possible, really. Therefore, with all these legal hurdles on the elections results may delay the necessary reforms for a few more weeks. We don't want to lose this time. As a business community, we really want the government to focus on its well-conceptualized reform agenda. The government already declared a reform agenda with good objectives. Yep. But it's time to act now, and the reforms are very important. Not only reforms, but tight monetary policies, tight fiscal policies. They all go together.
So on the reforms, what are the social and political reforms that are still needed to be delivered almost as soon as possible?
Well, on the one hand, there are short-term reforms, certainly. The private sector's debt should be restructured. Turkish private sector has a total debt stock of, in foreign currency, in effect, over the 200 billion US dollars, and liabilities go to half to non-financial institutions, but other half to financial institutions. In the short term, for this year, we have over almost $13 billion of short-term debt. So the government should focus to restructuring this debt, should intervene also with different means, different tools to make sure that the private sector's positioning is stabilized in the international markets. But on the other hand, the government should inject confidence into the markets with tight monetary policies from the central bank, tight budgetary policies, but also even declaring, announcing structural reforms with, of course, midterm effects will have immediately short-term positive impact on the markets.
So, Sonia, what are the markets thinking about Turkey right now, and how will it change in the next 6 months?
I think you've seen, if you've just had the charts in terms of the currency, the equity markets, and the 10-year government bond yield, and you see very clearly that the uncertainty not only around the political situation, but obviously how this is impacting the economy and the inflation picture in particular is not helping. And there is probably quite rightly the kind of maybe it's better to stay away and wait until we see actually reforms being put in place. Unless we will see this happening, I would think that particular international investors would much rather stay on the sidelines to wait and see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think we would want to see stability and greater reform, and particular, I guess, a more credible macroeconomic policy that can really recover international investors' confidence in Turkey, because I think that's really been the key issue, that the flight of capital out of Turkey last year led to a big squeeze on domestic demand. We saw a huge fall in imports, and the worry is that this further bout of uncertainty generates another deterioration in Turkish domestic demand and in Turkish growth. And really the only way to fix that now, I think, is very credible macroeconomic policies.
What does the government have to do in the next 3 months concretely to actually win investor confidence back?
Yes, to start acting. Certainly, to start acting and to focusing on the agenda. It's about also political rhetoric, which matters there. Most of the essential tools are already designed and already shared with the public, so this is fine. So it's really not about thinking, but about acting now. Well, first of all, structural reform agenda will really generate confidence in the Turkish domestic market, also for in the eyes of the international investors. Lots of measures can be taken concerning the rule of law, education, taxation system, capital markets, labor market. These are really very important areas where Turkey, as many other countries, maybe need investment by the politics with political capital also. So really assuring the public that the government is behind these policies. So far, it's evolving positively, and Turkish private sector's debt, by the way, is being decreased. So there are very positive trends, but we have to consolidate them. We have to enhance them. If not, we will lose the right window of opportunity, which there is now.
think the urgency relates to the fact as well that obviously Turkey is competing with a lot of other emerging markets for global capital. And we should not forget that those other emerging markets most recently have seen much more support from China stabilizing, a weaker dollar. So there were easier investment opportunities elsewhere in emerging markets. And I think this weighs then doubly on the situation that we see right now in Turkey.
All right, so well, thank you so much for joining us, Bahadır Kaleağası, Secretary General of the Turkish Industry and Business Association, Sonia Loud and Neville Hill. Stay with us. Up next, as weakness in the euro area economy persists, is it time for the ECB